Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Renegade, and you're currently looking at the engine bay of my 87 Volvo 245 DL. I've got some minor maintenance work to do today, so I figured, why not show you? I'm just going to tighten up the belts, check and gap the spark plugs, adjust the ignition timing, and probably the most important maintenance you can do on your car if you have a Volvo 240. So hang on. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten up these belts. I'm going to check this mounting too, because I'm noticing the belts are setting a little angly. Right here is an adjuster. There's a keeper here and an adjusting bolt. It's all old school, so no springs and stupid stuff like that. This, by the way, is the line for my oil pressure gauge that I have inside the car. One of these days I'm going to address this, tighten it up a little bit, but for right now, it's being held on by zip ties. I'm going to address this little issue real fast. And I'm going to check these wires, make sure everything is nice and good there. To adjust the tension on your belt on one of these old cars, you need to get to the keeper, which is right here. Hopefully you can see it, my finger's on it. And this bolt. This bolt here is a 13 millimeter. And just use your socket and ratchet combo just to loosen it up a hair. Then grab an extender and a 10 millimeter. Get your bolt right here. And if you need to tighten it, you need to tighten the tension, just tighten the bolt. Now, they say that there's an exact measurement to how far these things are supposed to flex, but I never go off of that. What I do is I check just my finger. Should have a little bit of flex, but not too much. Once you get your tension right, get your socket back on your keeper bolt and just tighten it up. Now this is the main drive belt, so it's got two. Volvo put two here as a backup. If one of these should go bad, you've got an extra one. And one thing I should note is you want to double check, make sure that the belt isn't being destroyed. You still have all your teeth. This one's good, this one's good. I already checked them. So we move on to the other ones. Adjusting the tension for the AC compressor and the power steering belt is the exact same as the other side. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you do these in order. Do your drive belts, then your AC belt, then your power steering belt. Now I've got all the adjustments done. Tension is good on all the belts. I do have a little bit of flex here. You can see when I push down the belt, the AC compressor is moving a little bit. What that is, if you've got one of these cars, you'll know. These are bushings on all the mounts of the accessories. Your alternator, your power steering pump, and your AC compressor. They start to go bad, they need to be replaced. I have bushings for them, but it's a little more involved, so not today, but soon. The next step is going to be checking the plugs, dressing them, and gapping them. I did a tune-up about 6 months ago. 6 months interval, check the plugs. Real simple. I do apologize for the noise. I do live on a fairly busy street down here, and I don't really have a garage to work in. So when you see cars, or when you hear cars going by, now you know why. Now I took the plug out. You can see it's a little dirty, but not too bad. Next thing to do is to clean this and check the gap. Best thing to use to clean it, a little bit of sandpaper. To gap your spark plugs, or to check your gap, get yourself a spark plug gapper. I have one from AutoZone. A feeler gauge will also work. And check your book specs on what measurement to use. On these cars, I go with 0.7 to 0.8 millimeters. You can do it in inches too, but bag that. This is a metric car after all. Simple enough. Put the gapper in until it's nice and tight, and then check your measurements. About 7.5. That works for me. Well, now that I've done all 4 spark plugs, it's time to move on to the distributor. Now this is an older car, so it does still have a distributor. That's this guy right here. It takes the spark from the coil, through the coil lead, to the distributor, and distributes, hence the name, to the 4 spark plugs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that cap off and make sure that everything inside is nice and clean. Inside, you can see there's a little bit of carbon tracking on each of the 4 prongs. There will be however many prongs you have per cylinder. If you're looking at this and you don't have a Volvo, maybe you've got a V6, you'll have 6 of these. You just check, make sure you don't have any of this stuff. If you do, just give it a quick clean. Now the same thing goes for this guy. This is the distributor rotor. It actually spins and takes the spark across here to those 4 prongs. You want to make sure that this is clean too. Again, a little bit of carbon tracking. Just give it a quick clean. A little bit of emery cloth or sandpaper like I use. You'll be good as go. This guy just pops straight up and off. With that clean, spark plugs clean and gap, the next thing I always want to do is make sure I clean up my contacts on my coil, so I'm getting a good signal from that. Because I have the MSD Blaster 2 coil, with this ignition system, I did need to get the resistor pack, so that's what this guy is. You want to make sure that's all clean too. Just pop off the wires. Give it a nice little sand. Make sure that you've got nice clean contact. Put the wire back on. Alright, I cleaned all these wires. This is good. Now I know my ignition system is all good from coil to spark plug. Very important to know. In case you're wondering, this bar, that bar, these are the strut bracing that I made for this car. Helps balance the load from strut tower to strut tower, and from strut tower to firewall. Helps your car stay level when cornering. It's a nice little feature, makes the ride a little bit nicer. Next thing I like to do is check my throttle. Make sure it's nice and tight, but not too tight. Throttle cable's good, so I don't need to adjust it. What I like to do next is check my throttle positioning sensor. That's this guy. TPS for short. What should happen is, when you've got your ignition on, you should turn the throttle very gently. Oh man, I left my stereo on. And once you get it slightly open, you should hear it clicking. I don't, so I need to adjust it. To adjust your TPS, it's pretty simple. You just need an Allen key. At least on these cars, you need an Allen key. Loosen up the bolt. Loosen very little. Pain in the arse otherwise. And you just rotate it until when you turn this, you hear it click. Then tighten it up. Now I loosened up and turned it just a hair. And turn my throttle, and you'll hear it click. Very minimal throttle opening before it clicks. That's what you want. One of the last things I want to do before starting the car up again is, in my opinion, one of the most important maintenance things you can do if you've got one of these old school Volvos. While modern cars have a positive crankcase ventilation valve, or PCV, these old school Volvos have what they call a flame trap. And it does basically the same thing. It allows the crankcase to breathe as to not build up too much pressure. It's connected to the oil separator box, which is on the side of the motor, but it's under your intake. So it's hard to see. It's back here behind my idle air control valve. You can see from the top, if I can get my hand there, right here my fingers are, that's the flame trap. You got to get that guy out and give it a quick clean. Flame trap out. Now, why is this so important? This gives oil and gunk in it from being connected to your motor, and if it clogs up, it doesn't allow air through, and you end up with major issues. The car won't run properly, and if it blocks up too much and you get too much pressure, you'll blow out your seals. Very common issue with these cars is that this will not get cleaned. Build up pressure, and you'll blow out the rear cam seal on the back of the motor. It's a pain in the ass to change. So, just give it a quick clean with a rag. Make sure the air blows through it. If it's too gunky, this screen here, if the screen is too gunky, you'll need to replace it. Very important to do. I do this every time I do anything on the car, just to make sure that nothing has gone wrong and that this is always clean. With that all clean and back in place, I'm ready to start the motor and make sure everything is good. Look at that. Flat, level, idle. Perfect. One thing I did off camera that I'll mention real fast is I adjusted my ignition timing. Now, with this ignition system on these Volvos, this is the LH 2.2 if you know anything about Volvos. Your distributor can swivel, adjusting your timing to fine-tune it. Your ignition timing, that is. There's a bolt down there. Now you need a long extension like this with a 13 millimeter or 12 on some socket all the way down there. Loosen it up just a little bit. Don't take the bolt out. Have the car running. Now you can do this with a timing light. I never do. A, I don't have a timing light, and B, I've never done it that way. I just do it this way. But very slowly rotate your distributor until the motor sounds healthier. Check it by twisting your throttle just a hair, and you want to hear the whole motor boom, like right away. If it idles smooth and it reacts exactly right when you move the throttle, you're good. Tighten down that bolt, you're ready to rock and roll. Obviously, also, one thing I did do is I checked all my fluids: brake fluid, power steering fluid, oil, and coolant. Because this is a manual transmission, I don't have a dipstick to check my transmission fluid. That is a more involved process. That's a later date. But all my fluids are good. Spark plugs have been dressed, gapped. Coil wires have all been dressed. TPS has been checked and adjusted. Ignition timing has been checked and adjusted. Flame trap has been cleaned. And that is basic maintenance. So everything running smooth like it is, good to go. Now I'm going to go inside, get cleaned up, and be back in a moment. And there you have it. The car is running much smoother than it was, and I know that everything is good. This is basically just a 6-month interval checkup. I like to keep on top of these things just to make sure that nothing goes funky. What I did today makes the car run smoother and prolongs its life. I know some people are thinking, why should we care about your maintenance that you do on your old car? Well, real simple. Things I do on my car are things I suggest people do on their cars. All in all, that took me less than an hour just to check everything, dress everything, make sure everything was copacetic. Why not do that on your own car? I just saved myself a bunch of money because I didn't have to go to a shop and have them do it. And it keeps my car running nice. I get better performance out of it, I get good gas mileage out of it, save myself money in the pump, save myself money from a shop, keep the car running nice, keep the car running longer. Too many old cars die either from neglect or people just not wanting to spend the money to pay somebody to do the work for them. As you just saw, I do all my own work, save myself a bunch of money. I get to keep this, what you would call old, but I call classic car, running. I love this car, so why on earth should I let it go? Now, I do have a goal in mind. I want to try and get a new video out for you guys every Sunday. A little bit of a problem because as I'm recording this, it's Saturday. So I've got to go home, edit, and get this up by tomorrow. So that's my goal. I want to get a new video out for you guys every Sunday. So check back on Sunday. If you don't know what car I'm driving, don't understand what's going on, I'm going to link the first video about this car down below. And if you want to know more motor-related thoughts that I have, that I spew out, follow me on Twitter. I'll link that below as well. While I look for parking, because I'm going to get coffee. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more videos. And I said, gonna aim for every Sunday putting out a new video. If you got any comments about the things I did, questions you want to ask, suggestions for more videos, leave a comment down below. And I'll see you all in the next video.